Amanda, good morning. Welcome back to the program. It's a second time around for you. I guess you've been doing our payroll tax program for us now 3 or 4 years. And every year that you've done it, we've had better and better results, comments from those who are participating, higher and higher attendance. So that tells me what you're talking about is definitely resonating with our audience. So we're happy to have you doing this again for us. I'm trying to see, it's the 38th annual payroll tax update. So we're approaching that big year of 40 there. Amanda's joining us from Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville this morning. Her students are already hovering around her door, waiting to get the time
Hopefully
because
not
she's
yet.
preparing their test and they want to know what's going to be on the test. But Amanda, talk to us a little bit about what we would expect to learn this year in the payroll tax update. Let's kick it off with maybe Secure 2.0 Act.
Yes. So last year we talked about the Secure 2.0 Act was coming down the pipeline. It stands for setting every community up for retirement enhancement. So it's this push to make sure that all employers are offering some sort of retirement plan for employees. The big changes that are effective 2025 after December 31st, 2024 are going to be the automatic enrollment of your employees. So depending on if you had your plan start after 2022, your employees are going to be automatically enrolled. They have to choose to opt out as opposed to choosing to opt in.
Right.
There's also part-time employees are eligible. If they worked over 500 hours for the past 2 years, then they will be allowed to be eligible for your retirement plan.
Now, is that only for new plans as well? Do you know, or is
that is
for existing plans?
My notes, I believe. Yeah, that's for already existing plans. It says effective for tax years beginning after December 31st, 2024. Part-time employees who worked at least 500 hours for the previous two years.
Yeah, that's a big change right there, right? Because most of us have not allowed that in the past. So that'll be interesting.
Right. Yeah. Right. And again, a lot of the Secure 2.0, your plan administrator or your financial institution that houses your plans, they've been working on this because some of that is on their side. Right. For example, the Roth contributions. So contributing your contributions to a Roth account, that is all on the plan side. I mean, they should be making sure that the plan is set up in that way. And then the big thing that's going to be effective that we're really going to take note for 2025 is, so we have our employee deferral limits that go up, and then you have your catch-up contributions if you're over 50. Now there's a new threshold.
Hold on. No, Burt, are you paying attention?
I'm listening, Phil.
The older age category employees here. Okay, I just want to make sure Burt's paying attention.
I didn't know it was a big birthday year for you. Yes, right. You're over 50. So the next step now is there's an additional, a higher level of catch-up contributions for those aged 60 to 63.
Okay.
So that's a new threshold, a new limit to pay attention to, and that will be effective January 1 of 2025. So just making sure that's a big thing going on, the retirement plan, the Secure 2.0.
Yeah, and these aren't things that we often think about for those of us who don't do payroll and the taxes associated with it and how the forms have to change and the different protocols and just small changes like catch up for people over 60 and the impact that has in a business. So that's, I think, the key reason why I encourage people to send their individual who's responsible for payroll or oversight of payroll to the program, because these are the things that we're not thinking about every day. We probably get lots of information about it throughout the year that it's coming, be prepared. But this gives you a chance to ask questions, learn from your peers, and really hear from Amanda, who does this every day, what might be the best ways to go about it. Amanda, what about the TCJA, the Tax Cuts and Job Act? What's going on with that?
Okay, so the Tax Cuts and Job Act was the Trump, I heard today we call it Trump 2.0 and Trump 1.0. So Trump 1.0, this was his plan that he implemented. It was a huge overhaul to the tax code or the tax return prep, everything since Reagan. And so not all, but a lot, can't stress that enough, a lot of the provisions that were set forth in the TCJA Act sunset in December of 2025. So this is a big thing for my world, for tax world, is okay, not only who's getting into the White House, but more or less the makeup of Congress. So what provisions are going to be extended, what's going to go away. I don't foresee, we were talking earlier. So one of the big changes is, for example, we used to do exemptions, allowances, and standard deduction. Now, with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, they just basically said, let's make it easier. Let's get away, redo or not do the allowances, and we'll double up the standard deduction. I foresee that continuing. The child tax credit. So child tax credit used to be $1,000. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act doubled it. I foresee that possibly going up as well. So things like that changes. But the big change that to be aware of is that some of your deductions and some of your credits are going to change. I don't think it's going to drastically change your W-4, but one of my best practices for payroll is to reach out to your employees about that W-4. So you're required to get a new W-4 from an employee by February 15th if they have zero withholdings. But I say take it another level and say, communicate with your employees and say, do you need to update your W-4 based on what happened with your tax return? Do you need more withholdings or less? That definitely needs to be communicated when we go from 25 to 26, just because there are going to be more changes than just our income thresholds changing with our tax rates schedule.
You know, I've only worked one place where the employer, and I really appreciated it, where the employer took the proactive position of helping employees with, filling out their W-2s for preparation of what's going to happen at their end of the year with their taxes. And that was so helpful. Instead of being the traditional HR response, which is, oh, well, I really can't tell you how to do that, or that's not for me to say. You're going to have to go see your tax advisor, and you're talking to, someone that isn't going to have a tax advisor, and they're just trying to figure out their taxes at home. And they're like, look, I had to pay taxes. I don't want to pay $2,000 at the end of the year. How do I make that adjustment? That might seem really simple for many people, but it's not an easy understanding of how to adjust their taxes appropriately or their W-2 appropriately so that they can, maybe be more balanced at the end of the year. But what you're saying is the brackets are changing and we're reverting. Is that what you're saying?
The brackets always change. There's always adjustments for inflation every year. The Tax Cuts Jobs Act reduced the top bracket to 37%.
It's going back to
from 39.6%. It does revert back if it's not extended, but given the makeup of our current Congress, I would assume we would keep it at 37%. I don't foresee that changing. The bigger change, I think, is possibly some stuff on the Schedule A. So in the past, if you've done standard deduction, you might revert back to doing itemized deductions, getting more deductions, and also looking at those credits that you might be eligible for, changes in the credits. So that might impact. But there's always a possibility that we revert back to a higher tax rate.
All right, very good. Anything else on the federal payroll updates that you want to share with us that you might be talking about?
There's some more hot topics, but back to the whole idea of the W-4 and communicating with your employees. I know the gig economy is a big thing. We talked about it last year. It's still a payroll hot topic. And I actually just had a conversation with a student. She didn't realize that you can have more withheld. She's got her main job and then she's getting a side hustle, which I highly recommend everybody have a side hustle. And I said, you can just have more withheld from your main job to avoid those estimated payments. So, and she had no idea. So that's, again, to your point, helping out your employees and saying, hey, because otherwise I said, if you don't have enough taxes withheld from your side gig, your employers are going to get a letter that says, hey, make sure that they're withholding at the maximum amount. Yeah. So
that can affect what the employer has to do. Exactly right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Amanda, talk about AI. Are you seeing any developments with AI and the payroll and fringe tax benefit platforms or approaches?
Well, I know, especially as a professor, originally it was like, ooh, AI is bad, stay away. And it's just, unfortunately, you're going to have to embrace it. it's not bad. It just needs to be utilized as a tool. It shouldn't be dependent upon, but you should, I think it's a great tool to use, and it's getting better and better as it continues to develop. I would recommend using it for your policies and your procedures, helping you write those. But as far as the other, more importantly, is utilizing your software, making sure that we streamline payroll process. Gone are the days where you and the payroll department should be inputting the data. You need to give that to somebody else, predominantly a software system to do that, because I think every industry nowadays is hurting for physical bodies. I'm not sure what everybody's doing. I think they're all blogging, or they're on something.
They're all got that side hustle you were saying.
Yes, exactly.
There you go.
I don't know. Anyway, I know we're all hurting for workers these days. So because of that, because gone are the days of somebody actually putting in the information. That needs to be done by a software. And you, as a payroll processing department, as an HR department, need to be reviewing. And also just adding to what Burt was saying about how we have all these laws changing federally, and then it gets pushed down. The states might have something different than what the federal tells you. Just to be aware of it, you need to be more of that review process. So that's what I would, so I don't know if it's more necessarily AI. I would say more of the automation of the payroll system.
Amanda, I like to think of all of these changes as making sure that people like you, me, Phil, and probably all of our listeners who are mainly in the HR realm, that we all have jobs into the future. All of these changes are job security for us.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've been paying attention to what's going on with the accounting industry, but it's a great time to get your accounting degree, by the way. You will have your pick of wherever you want to work. So, but yeah, you're right. Sure. Gainfully employed for sure.
Amanda, one of our listeners online, Deborah, is asking really about the, I think it's the 2.0, and does that apply to plans started prior to 2022? And I think the answer in there is some elements probably do apply to before those plans that were implemented before 2022, and some will only apply to those plans implemented in 2022.
Exactly. It depends. It's also my favorite answer to things too. That's the school business answer. It depends. It depends on what provisions you're looking at, which ones are applicable. Like, for example, the catch-up contributions from 60 to 63, that doesn't matter when you started your plan, but other provisions would be depending upon when the plan starts. Last year we did include in the booklet in our the actual handout summary of the law. So
Deborah, we'll see you if you get online, Deborah, on the AIM website. You can join in. We have a program available in person. Amanda does a great job and spends a day in person, or the morning in person with the group, or you can attend online, whatever works best for you. One of our other listeners here, Amanda, Dave, is asking now, you got to understand a little bit about Dave. I know Dave very well, and Dave's always looking for the easy way. And that didn't mean that Dave's lazy. He's a very smart guy, but he's always looking for the easy way. Sometimes I like to call him Easy Dave. But Dave is asking, is there a particular W-4 guide you would suggest or recommend? Is there such a thing?
So there is a W-4 online portal. So what I would do, again, I get it. You don't want to hold hands too much, because if you do too much for your people, then they start to expect that. But you could just send out a standard email that says, I would say April 10th, right? Not January 1, but after they probably process their tax return is when I would say, hey, just FYI, guys, just a reminder, you might want to update your W-4. Here is the IRS website. If you go into the irs.gov website, they have the automatic W-4 that asks you the questions that you can complete and fill out. So that's what I would use in the past, because it looks completely different than what we are used to with the old W-4.
All right. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you, Amanda, for joining us this morning. Again, on that payroll tax update, we have looks like December 3rd is our in-person program in Peoria, Illinois. That's where it started 38 years ago. And due to the demand across all of the states that we serve, we also offer the live online version, which will be simulcast from our office here in St. Louis. And that's on December 13th. So we will see you again on December 3rd up in the beautiful city of Peoria, Illinois. And thanks very much. And
thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please share it with your colleagues. Forward our invites. Share the link aimea.org/This Week at Work, or follow or subscribe wherever you get your news and entertainment, like LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere you are. And you can be part of the show. Send your questions and comments anytime to info@thisweek.work. We'll see you next week, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, when we discuss what's happening this week at work.